everyone. Welcome to this edition of Beyond the Comfort Zone. Today I'm interviewing Shila Nieves Burney from Zane Venture Fund. Excited to hear what she has to say about the venture world and about her leadership. Welcome, Shila.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Great. Well, let's talk a little bit about Zane so our listeners can know a little bit more about who you are, and then can ask some questions and just learn more about your background in leadership. So tell everybody a little bit about Zane, what you do.
Sure. So Zane Venture Fund is an Atlanta-based early stage venture fund whose mission is to invest and accelerate the growth of diverse founders and teams who we're calling the new face of technological change by investing in the connective tissue economy. And so our primary focus is to invest in, again, tech-enabled solutions founded by diverse entrepreneurs, primarily here in the Southeast, but opportunistically across the US.
Awesome. And why is it so important to have a diverse team of founding members?
Sure. So it's the data. The data shows that the diverse teams outperform their peers by 33%. Teams with women, people of color, the LGBTQ community all bring a different lens because of their lived experience. And so for us, we're just backed by the data that shows that these teams outperform.
Makes perfect sense. I mean, the more perspectives you have in a room, the better any business or any group really is, and having different backgrounds and experiences to share. So
absolutely, and it just makes good business sense.
Now, I also know you have a program called Zane Access that's out there to help entrepreneurs. Can you share a little bit about that programming?
Sure. So when I started on this journey of venture capital, I had basically the end in mind. First. And that was providing resources to diverse entrepreneurs. And so Zane Access supports entrepreneurs in a couple of ways. We have an educational arm that provides capital readiness program. These are programs that helps entrepreneurs gain the technical and soft skills of fundraising. And then we also have a university program where we're doing sort of the same thing, but it's a pre-capital, getting them sort of, these are companies that are at the ideation stage, so really, really early, but getting them comfortable with the aspect of raising capital in the future. And then we introduce them to a network of other resources, mentors, and a network of investors.
That's great. You've got support resources for them kind of at all stages of early entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
I think you're in the right place too. Atlanta's such a tech mecca right now with so many business ideas sprouting up.
Absolutely. And we want to be there when these entrepreneurs need the resources, sort of a go-to for the entrepreneur community.
Now, being in Atlanta and there's so much tech here, I know that there's a lot of myths about venture backing and venture funds and how that capital works. So I'm curious, what's a common myth that you've heard that you'd like to debunk here on the show about how venture works?
So I'll start with one of them, and I think this is such a misconception thanks to TV. People assume we sit around on the sofa like Shark Tank all day and just, vet deal after deal in our suits and nice clothes, and that is far from the truth. Most of us are looking for potential deals, meaning we need to come out of our homes and go into the ecosystem, and find great entrepreneurs who are, sort of already engaged and tapped in. The other myth is that we're sitting on loads of money. You say that you're, like for me, and in my instance, I'm raising a $25 million fund. All of a sudden, people will, have this assumption that we're flush with cash. That's not how venture capital works. And so just really want people to be sort of understanding that this is such a complex work. It involves so many compliance components to venture capital. So it takes a very sort of a person who knows how to double down and roll up their sleeves and kind of make sure all of the bells are running on time, because it's so many different aspects to running a fund.
Oh, it's interesting because you're right. I think people do have this very Shark Tank perspective of funds or ideas that investors in venture are billionaires sitting around. But it's exciting, right? Because you have this ability with the skills you have to match people with great ideas to investors who have money. But being in the middle, I'm guessing it takes a lot of work to play that matchmaking game.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So shows beyond the comfort zone. That's because everybody that I have on it are great leaders who had to step out of their comfort zones to find their way to where they are today. I'm curious about some of the influential people in your life who pushed you outside your comfort zone into a place of growth.
Sure. So in my previous career, just so everyone knows, I spent about 20 plus years investing in human capital through programs and services for large institutions and public school systems. And so I've had two managers, one a male and the other one a woman who they didn't know that they were challenging me so much and pushing me out of my comfort zone. But when they first hired me, they considered me to be a partner. Not an employee, but a partner in the work, meaning that we would sort of tackle whatever we were doing together. And so for some folks, that means that you can sit back and, act as a partner and not do the work as well. And so there were a few times where I had to be pushed by these folks because I assume, for me, if I delegate the work, the folks are going to do it. And it's like, no, you got to go back to them and ensure they get it done. And so I was so challenged by both of them. And believe me, it didn't feel good at the time. But when I look back on that and some of the things they taught me about delegating and, my communication styles when I'm sending things out, how to, double check and triple check your work and that sort of stuff. And so it was them, these two folks. They were very challenging, but I so respect them now and really grateful for, the opportunity they gave to me. They pushed me in meetings, that typically they would have been in. And, these were meetings where we were talking about geo-analysis and I don't have an epidemiologist background, and my boss did, but she was like, you're going to go learn and you're going to figure it out. And I did. And so I just love that part of those two helping me get out of my comfort zone of being very shy, sit back and understand that I do have a voice at the table and that I needed to use it.
That's excellent. It's great to have people who push and challenge us. It's also good because I think a lot of people, like you and I, were self-starters as well. After we start learning how to get out of our comfort zone, then it kind of comes more naturally to us. So I'm curious, what's the biggest leap you've taken yourself outside of your comfort zone, and how did you grow from it?
Venture capital. If this isn't the biggest leap that I never imagined myself, first of all, in a financial space. My background, again, has been, investing in human capital, like working directly in communities, the folks that we were looking to impact. And so now to be able to be in a space where I can generate wealth for a community that's been traditionally left out. This is the biggest leap I've ever taken. And it's all, I'm betting on me. Right. I'm not betting on going to work for a boss that I truly respect and I'm going to help them build and grow. I'm betting on the fact that I've been given this opportunity. I'm coming out of my comfort zone. I did an interview the other day on Bloomberg TV. I never imagined that, but I had to bet on me and go do that interview. Right. So I wake up every day staying educated, staying informed around venture capital so that I'm always, I know what's happening in the space. I know who the new entrepreneurs are who are coming in and innovating around a sector that I'm interested in. And so that is the biggest leap I've made. And I'm really grateful that I did because at the end of the day, again, I had to bet on myself. And I'm proud that I did.
What inspired you to take the jump?
So I had been working with an entrepreneur again. I had spent 20 plus years, pivoted to full-time entrepreneurship in 2018. Had been offered the opportunity to source investors for a startup that was based in Africa, and they were looking to scale. I didn't know what venture capital meant, right? In terms of, the terminology, but what it meant in a day-to-day sort of working with entrepreneurs. But it seemed so exciting to me, and I decided to, while also building my own business, help out this entrepreneur. And I was able to get him to a $5 million letter of intent with the possibility of up to $100 million. And so I saw firsthand what it was like to go out and fundraise, get into a network of investors. I didn't have that network first. I found someone here in Atlanta, Sig Mosley, who was able to help make introductions for me. And so At the end of that, the investor dropped out of the deal. We have this very unfortunate incident here in Atlanta where my daughter was impacted by gun violence. And all of those two things pushed me to go into venture capital and raise this fund, because I felt like there was a huge opportunity in the market, and there were diverse entrepreneurs who were deserving of having folks pay attention to them as they build and scale technology companies.
Wow, sheer determination from seeing a gap that needed to be filled.
Absolutely.
You mentioned your daughter. I'm curious, if you could go back and give one piece of advice to your 18-year-old self or to your daughter, what would that advice be?
To stay focused, right? I think some of us very early on have an idea of what we want to be, but somewhere along the way we get sort of sidetracked, whether it's just personal things, life in general. But if I could just tell myself to stay focused, and the same thing for my daughter, like, let's not agonize over some of these small things that we think are so big. And in 5 to 10 or even 20 years, it won't matter. And so just staying focused on whatever the big picture that I would have, like I felt I had back then, but just with life, you're thinking it's never going to happen. But I knew to continue working hard. And it just, if I could have been a bit more focused, stayed a little bit more focused, that's what I would have had to share with myself. So
more focus would have led to where you wanted to go faster.
More than likely. My path was not straight. I took a lot of different paths to get here. And so, but I'm here. That's the thing. So.
I find that that's pretty common though. Great leaders. There's a lot of paths and zigzags along the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You meet a lot of great people from different backgrounds when you're doing that.
Now, we talked a lot about this venture fund. You didn't get into this intentionally, or it was intentional when you chose to, but it wasn't your long-term plan. Make sure I'm saying that correctly. So it's relatively new to you. What's something that your venture fund has done now, or in this process, that you didn't expect, that you're really surprised by?
What's something we've done now that we were, so I think one thing that I've had to do, so not so much the venture fund, like we have to trust our gut, right? Where you get a lot of different opportunities coming your way, and you really like the entrepreneur, but you have to tell them at the end of the day, this is not the kind of company that, we're willing to back right now. And it could be for different factors. And sometimes you may be, hurting someone, but I always try to follow that up with, let me introduce you to someone else. And so I've made 4 investments so far. In the beginning, that first one took a year before I made an investment into her company. Because again, like the company, love the entrepreneur, but it just wasn't right for us at that moment. But trusting my gut and helping her and mentoring her and advising her led me to help her get her first term sheet. And then I came in at the end of the deal. So I trusted my gut to be able to say, yes, she's worth spending time with and that sort of stuff. Let's help her get where she needs to be. And then when she's ready, let's make an introduction to another fund and get her invested in. And then I came in and helped get more investors in. So that's what you don't expect sometimes. You don't expect the length of time it's going to take to get something done. But if you trust your gut, in my opinion, along the way, it just means it gives you, in this business, it gives it a whole new meaning, and you have a whole new awareness about what you're doing when you do.
Mm-hmm. Now, what's one lesson your career's taught you that you think everybody should learn at some point in their life?
What's one lesson? So I think for me, I'm learning that I say yes too quickly, right? And I want folks to kind of understand that again, this trusting of your gut. Sometimes you could trust your gut and it gets you to the answer pretty quickly. But, there is this thing that, Reagan said years ago, trust but verify. And so I'm having to trust, but I need to be able to verify that the person that I'm bringing in to do a certain thing actually has the ability to do that. And so that's one thing that I'm learning. And I would hope that other folks would learn that, bringing people in too soon, when you're still building a foundation and you don't really know what your vision is, you're still formulating that. You may bring people in too early and it could hurt me in this case, because I hadn't done enough verifying to know that folks would help me build this sort of foundation, and that I needed to build the foundation first and then bring people in, and then we can always sort of tweak what we need to tweak. And so it's that trusting and verifying that I've had to learn, and it has been painful because you spend a lot of time, and then you have to look back and sort of start readjusting along the way because you're down a path that you didn't expect to go on.
What's, one of your bigger failures that you've had to learn from, and what did you get out of it?
It ties back to that. It's talent, again, hiring talent or bringing talent on. And that's on me. It's not on the individual. We're talking about very smart and capable folks, but venture capital is a different sort of beast. And there's this assumption that it's easy, and it's not, and it's expensive to do, right? It costs a lot of money to stand up a fund. And so I think that's one of the biggest things is not informing people who want to come into venture capital, like some of the challenges that I'm going to deal with for the life of the fund. It's just the nature of the work. And so I think that is, I don't want to call it a failure because it's a learning experience. But at the time, it felt like a failure, right? I continue to do this, and I don't want to hurt other folks in their career. But now I know, like, just to take the slow road when it comes to bringing talent on. You got to understand, people have to understand that this is a roll up your sleeve sort of role. We're not sitting on cash. No one's sitting on a bed of cash, right? We're raising money. We're making investments. The rewards will come later. Is in essence what I'm saying.
So it goes back to that assumption that it's not easy. There's a lot of hard work behind it.
Absolutely. Yes.
With all that hard work, I know you probably have some tools up your sleeves that help you just in a day-to-day working environment. What are some underrated tools that are indispensable for your job?
So for me, I am a super connector network, and I know that may not be a tool for some folks, but it's a tool for me. Because how I leverage that particular tool is that I find great opportunities, in terms of investments. I find ways to go out and connect with entrepreneurs. I find ways to get into rooms with potential investors. And so that's a tool in my arsenal that I've had probably all of my career, to get out and know different people, get caught up, catch up with different people. In terms of for the job's sake, of course, there's tech, right? We want to, and this is something that I would advise for everyone, including those who have venture funds, how to automate your work. Because you're constantly, having meetings, and then there's notes, and then there's like follow-up, and having, different tools to kind of help you with that. We use Airtable. We use, we're using Asana at one point for deal flow. We have all these different things that make our day work. And so it's a matter of, they're all collaboration tools that kind of help us move quicker, and be more lean at the same time.
It's great to know. It's funny, I use Airtable, but I don't know many people who know about it. So
in this business, you may want to have a really good CRM.
That's pretty funny to hear that one. What about productivity hacks, using technology terms, right? What are some things that help you be more efficient in your job that maybe could help somebody else who's watching this?
So what I've tried to do is when I'm meeting, one thing is time. Time is, finite. And so I try to schedule meetings with entrepreneurs. If it's just you want me to hear your about your company, 15 minutes. We'll schedule that time so I have more time. Right now it's the investor relationships. It's my own portfolio company relationships. And so scheduling those meetings, right? I typically have Friday where I don't have any meetings, or even Monday. I try to start my day, in the middle of the day with my team, in the middle of the day versus first thing in the morning. And so leveraging things like Calendly for scheduling, of course we use Zoom for meetings and that sort of stuff, but it's, we use a lot of the tools that everyone else is using, but trying to automate the process of your work is what we're getting better at. We use Notion now. We have a big event that we're planning. Instead of killing each other in email, right? Everything goes in Notion. And so we know where everything is while we're planning this event. And so just as much as you can automate your work, I think is critically important. When people submit to our website, right, we have a form where you can apply for us to look at your company. And then, you get a sort of automated email response. It goes automatically into MailChimp. It goes into Asana, or someone takes it to Asana so that we can look at what the actual deal is. And so that cuts out a lot of time, from getting the email, uploading it to a database, and all that other stuff. We just have an automated system to make it easier.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it would save a lot of time. Mm-hmm. Automation can be a great thing.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm curious, what's one question that you wish I'd asked you?
So I think we may have already said it. I was thinking, where did the name Zane come from? That's a question I get asked a lot, especially when people find out, when people hear that they have a kid named Zane or a spouse named Zane. And so Zane, of course, came from my daughter, and my daughter, who encouraged me to, after she had was impacted by violence here in the city and was actually convalescing at home. And I was trying to figure out if I wanted to continue doing this work or not. Sure, I had met incredible entrepreneurs. I had gotten this great opportunity for this potential founder. And then I had was impacted by a community sort of event. I felt like it was like the community hurting us or community hurting my daughter. Mm-hmm. And then I had to sort of rethink that, and it's not the community that hurt me. It's like people in this particular area, I call it venture red line. Like people are there left to, have their own fight, own their own vices fester, right? So whatever, drug community, whatever, and they were shooting at each other. We just happened to get caught up in the crossfire. And so she's the one that suggested that I continue doing this work. And I was trying to find a strong woman that I could name the fund after. And I'm going, Oprah and Michelle Obama. And I look at my daughter who's at the table encouraging me to do this. And so I named the fund after her. And so that's how it became Zane. It's a family name. It's my husband's middle name. We named my daughter after, giving him her name, giving him, you understand. And so that's where the name comes from. It's very near and dear. So every time I say Zane to anyone, I have my daughter close at heart and thinking about how in her moment of convalescing, she had the strength to tell me to move forward in this work.
That is so inspirational. It sounds like you have a very strong daughter, to be going through such horrible things and how to turn that into such a positive light to say, go do something good in the world.
Absolutely. Very proud of her.
That's really amazing. And I'm so heartbroken that she went through so much, because that's got to have been terrifying, but her strength is inspirational.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, and she's now out helping other people in the community. She's been working part of the COVID relief for a large organization here. So that's just been what she's been doing for her career. So really proud of her.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah, just taking that in. What is, going back to this concept of getting outside your comfort zone, which it sounds like you have done so much in life and your daughter has done as well. What's something you still would like to try that's outside of your comfort zone that you just haven't yet?
So I am what I call a Black Latina. So my mom's Black, my dad's Puerto Rican. And, I did my sort of 23andMe a few years ago, and my lineage was traced back to Spain and to West Africa. And so I am so determined to go to both of those countries at some point. In West Africa, it's Nigeria and some Ghana. And then it's Spain, it's more like in Portugal. And so I just want to trace my roots back and see, sort of the beginning of, of where my sort of family comes from. And so that's just been something, it's out of my comfort zone. I love traveling. My family and I do a lot of traveling. But I want to go to some of the remote areas where my sort of genealogy has been traced back to. So we'll see what happens. That's something I would really like to do, and it's going to take me out of my comfort zone. So.
Well, I have no doubt that you will do that at some point in time, and I look forward to hearing about it when you do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing everything about Zane today, what you guys are doing. It's really exciting. I want to make sure my viewers have a chance to know how to find you if they're interested in learning more about Zane or the fund itself. So how can people get in touch with you?
Sure. So, of course, our website is zane.vc. And then the Zane Access website is accesszane.org. And then we're on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook if you do Facebook. And so you can find all of our channels under Zane Venture Fund or Zane Access. We're on all those platforms. And of course, I'm out there too as Shila Nieves Burney.
Awesome, everyone. Look Zane up, see if you can connect and help Zane out as far as helping to grow the fund and doing more or connecting different entrepreneurs to Zane who maybe Zane can help as well. So thank you so much for your time today. And look forward to hearing more from you down the road.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here.